Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hope Discovered podcast. My name is Bill. What we are going to do today, we don't have a guest on this episode, but what we do have is you. You are our guest today because what we are going to try to do is bring you into the world of CommQuest, how we try to reach the community, and what our message is. We are going to talk about our first ever Radiothon that was conducted in September of 2020 on Q92 in Alliance. The first people that I need to acknowledge is the staff of CommQuest. When people ask me, what's this CommQuest that you work for? Well, what do they do? One of the things that I always mention in that description of our agency is I work with people who are on the front line of making the world a better place. I'm very proud to be in a support role to that, but it is these fine, dedicated people who work with their clients and help them heal, help them recover. These are the people that make this agency work. And I'm privileged to have the opportunity to work with some of them time to time on media projects. I always learn something, and it's a part of humanity that I get exposed to by working with the people here at CommQuest. And I want to thank you for that privilege. I also would like to take a moment to tip my hat to my associates in the marketing department. And I'll start with Trista Todd, who is the Director of Marketing and Communications for our agency. She was relatively new in this position when COVID hit, and especially for a nonprofit. Departments like ours are often called upon to do more with less. And in this climate, in this restricted climate where marketing is difficult when you can't leave the agency and have contact with people, she has raised our department in terms of the quality of the content we are putting out to ad agency level. And I learned something new from Trista all of the time, and I really appreciate the leadership that we have in this department. The other member of our marketing team here at CommQuest, and yes, I do mean the other, we are a very small department, is Emmy Reinhardt. Now, she is the marketing coordinator here at CommQuest. A lot of the content that you're going to hear on today's program was authored by Emmy. She is a fantastic copywriter. Her computer skills are through the roof. A lot of the designs on our social media, on our website, all come from Emmy. She is very detail-oriented, and she came along at just the right time because doing more with less, she fills the shoes of any number of different people ordinarily, and we're very, very lucky to have her. My name is Bill Deeser, and I'm a multimedia specialist here at CommQuest. My duties primarily are audio, video, recording, production, and editing. My background is probably mostly professional audio content. And one of the things I'm really happy about in the digital landscape that we have today, with the popularity now of podcasts, audiobooks, streaming devices in the home, is these things have again resurrected the spoken word to an art form. And I'm thrilled about that because we are primarily vocal creatures. And when you're being professionally recorded and your voice is traveling just 1 inch into a microphone and then it goes into someone's ear, you have to relay whatever it is you are talking about through the passion in your voice, how you speak, the words you choose. You can't rely on your looks. You can't rely on video graphics to support what you're saying. You can't rely on gestures. You can't rely on facial expressions. All of that has to come out in your voice. And I am so thrilled to be a part of the content creating community around audio-only content, and I had some great opportunities on this project. With that being said, I would also like to thank Trista and Keith, our CEO, Keith Huddle, because this project, this Radiothon, required a lot of broadcast quality content to be created in a relatively short period of time and for it to all air on one day. And that's a lot of responsibility. As we produced the content for the Radiothon, the content was reviewed by Trista and in this case by Keith himself. And I always got the impression that they trusted me. And that means the world. And I want you to know I really appreciate that it did not go unnoticed. The Radiothon, simply put, was a telethon on the radio. And again, this was on Q92. And obviously it was designed to raise funds, but also to raise awareness. And that's probably where its greatest success was. We were able to bring in some people as clients who were struggling. They experienced trauma of one kind or another. Some of them turned to substance abuse, and they heard us. And they said, wow, maybe this place can help me. And that was the most touching and most wonderful aspect of this whole thing. During the Radiothon, the air personalities, of course, would talk about CommQuest and they would ask for donations and so on. And what we did is we produced a number of different spots that were to air in rotation throughout that day. And they were of two types. One was a personal journey, and the other one was information about the agency. Now, honestly, I had an advantage that an outside producer wouldn't have in that I'm familiar with the agency. I know the talking points. And a lot of times I knew the members of the staff that I was working with. So there was a comfort level there. And it always fascinates me when I work with members of our staff, the passion that they have for what they do. And like I said, it comes out in their voice, and I was able to bear witness to that. And it was just absolutely a wonderful experience. These are talented individuals, and I'm going to play the spots for you. What we are going to do is we're going to start with Keith. And Keith is always super easy to work with for me because he's a great speaker. He talks a lot on behalf of the agency. So typically he and I sit down, read through it a couple times, and we're good to go. And during the production process, I edited it all together, and I wanted to find some background that kind of built, it kind of conveyed leadership. And as his story, as his personal journey progressed through the spot, I wanted the music to kind of build. And it came out very well. I'm very pleased with it. Here's the first spot, and it comes from Keith Huddle.
Hi, I'm Keith Huddle, grateful recovering alcoholic and addict, and also President and CEO of CommQuest Services. Often those who come to work in the behavioral health field don't just choose, but have actually been directed here by their own life experiences. I'm one of those folks. My life was a mess, and in 1996, I lost my pharmacy license, and I was searching for hope. Hope that I had no idea where it was going to come from. I walked into my first 12-step Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and somebody said, "We've been waiting for you." And I couldn't quite figure out why they didn't come get me first before I made such a mess out of my life. I also needed some work, and I landed at a treatment center in Akron, Ohio called Edwin Shaw. You know, while I was there, somebody directed me to go to graduate school, Malone University, despite my felonies and my history, practiced grace and kindness. And through that faith that Malone had in me and my faith in God, I could find something I could hold on to. It was challenging, but in 23 plus years, I have no doubt that I made the right choice to stay clean and sober today and to continue with that faith in God and build relationships around me that supported that recovery lifestyle. Today, through that faith and hope, I get to carry a message that offers encouragement to others, a message that says that while change is difficult, the opportunities are endless. While I chose recovery lifestyle, in many ways it chose me. And embracing that lifestyle provided me with the hope that I have today. I'm not exactly sure where you are in your journey, But I do know that taking that first step, while it may be challenging and rocky, can provide that same hope. CommQuest's mission statement of Hope Happens Here can launch you on that journey.
Keith always hits it out of the park, doesn't he? Next up is Michelle. Now, Michelle is a spokesman that we use quite often here at the agency. I've worked with her a number of different times. And again, always on spot, always on target, always a moving message.
Hi, my name's Michelle Smith. Growing up in my home as a child, I lived in an alcoholic home where my father was physically and verbally abusive to us kids in the home, which set the stage for a lot of destructive behaviors in my life. Growing up with an alcoholic father and the examples that are portrayed to the children can set the stage for a lot of dysfunction in your life in adulthood. I grew up looking to men who were alcoholics, who were abusive physically and verbally to me, which set the stage for active addiction early on in my life. I had got into quite a bit of legal trouble in my active addiction, which landed me into CommQuest Deliverance House back in 2011. And this was a huge blessing in my life that I didn't know at the time. I walked in that treatment center back in 2011, so broken and not really having any hope at life at all. They gave me a counselor at CommQuest Deliverance House who was, I feel, God appointed for me because she had the background in domestic violence herself. So she taught me a lot about me and a lot about my behaviors growing up that led into active addiction. That treatment center taught me how to engage in 12-step recovery meetings and to form a foundation of women in recovery that would help me sustain recovery when I left that treatment center. And because of that, when I got out, I was able to rebuild my relationship with my husband, my children, my mom, and anybody in my family. And that is a direct result of going into treatment at CommQuest Deliverance House. Today, I can live with hope and know that I can conquer anything in my life when I have God first and recovery with me. So I want to shout out to a huge thank you to all my people in the 12-step community. Without you and God, this wouldn't have been possible. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Always so great. Next up, I have Kim. I've just started working recently with Kim on some things. She is an absolute bundle of energy. She is a perfectionist, and she did a great job talking about our school-based mental health.
It's no secret that a vital part of emotional healing is found in being connected to a caring community. Science is clear that our brains actually function better together. At CommQuest, we believe that hope happens here. Life can be overwhelming, and we want to provide hope and direction when people find themselves needing it most. There's a saying that says, hope anchors the soul. People find themselves feeling like the waves of life are tossing them to and fro, and we want to provide an anchor so that they don't find themselves alone in the deep end of the ocean. CommQuest offers a variety of counseling options, which include outpatient counseling, telehealth services, and school-based mental health. We have people who specialize in all of these areas, and these services are available at multiple locations, including Alliance, Canton, Massillon, Minerva, and Carrollton. Outpatient counseling is the traditional option of being able to meet with a licensed counselor in the office. Whether it's counseling for individuals, families, a marriage, children and teens, or recovery needs, we're here to help. You can rest assured that we're using the highest CDC recommended standards to ensure your safety. Telehealth is another great option. For many right now, getting out in an office isn't possible, so we offer telehealth as an insurance-approved means of treatment. If telehealth is what you're most comfortable with, yet you don't have a phone or computer that's capable of this, you have the option of coming into the office where we can set you up with a sanitized computer for your telehealth appointment. There are some significant advantages to telehealth, ranging from convenience to comfort of counseling in your own home. Sometimes this method is actually more comfortable for those who find direct interaction more intimidating. SchoolBased Mental Health Services are counseling right in the school for your child. We know that school poses particular challenges for many students, so having a counselor on site to observe, coach, and advocate for your child in their own school environment is particularly beneficial. Many of our clients are doing virtual school this year, and that also poses new challenges. So SchoolBased Mental Health Services are a great option in either case to support both students and their families. Wherever you find yourself in this season of life, CommQuest wants to offer hope and customize a treatment plan that best suits your needs. For more information or to get started on your journey to better mental health, call 330-455-0374 or visit us at CommQuest.org.
Thank you so much, Kim. Hit all the marks so perfectly. Right now, we have Dan. Now, Dan tells his story quite often for us here at CommQuest, and we actually recorded this very early in the morning. This was like 7:30 in the morning, and Dan always takes these projects so seriously, and his passion comes out in his words. Here's Dan.
My name is Dan. I have the privilege of telling you a little bit about my story of recovery. My journey started at a very young age. I remember members of the family, partying in my home, and it always caught my eye, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of. I only seen the surface level. If I would have looked a little bit deeper, I would have seen the wrecked marriages and the unemployment lines and the different aspects that addiction hinders behind the scenes. But at that moment, I only seen what I wanted to see. And that's a good metaphor for my story of, throughout my addiction. With the illegal lifestyle that I had on the outside, it appeared that everything was, doing okay. But inside, I had so much going on that I didn't process or deal with. At a young age, my father passed away from the direct results of addiction, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I just kept spiraling out of control, especially once I got around my high school years, my story really picked up steam. It didn't take long before I realized that I needed some help. I started asking around and inquiring about different ways to get out of because I knew I wanted to change, I just didn't know how. I started going to some outpatient counseling at CommQuest Services. I'll never forget, I was speaking to one of my counselors, and at this point in my life, I had the ability to be honest, and I told her, I needed something a little more intense. I just asked her, I was like, look, this isn't quite working for me. What do you suggest? Her name was Joan, and she said, we have this program. It's a little more long-term. It's 90 days. You go there and stay. The name of it is called Wilson Hall. At first, I didn't want to go. I was like, hold on a second, you don't have something that's a little bit shorter? And she looked at me and not so many words asked me how bad did I want it. So I showed up at Wilson Hall. Wilson Hall was really a springboard for better opportunities in my life. Here I am today, 9 years later, and my life has drastically changed. Got my family back together, got a great job working in this field for CommQuest Services, and I come to you today to let you know that hope happens here.
Thank you so much, Dan. Always such great work. Next up is Pastor Gil. And when I found out that Gil was going to be a part of this, I kind of took it for granted that being a pastor, he was going to have good communication skills. Whatever he was going to say was going to be well rehearsed and so on. And it was. But what I did not know was his story. And I was sitting there with my headphones on as I was recording this, and I was like, well, I did not know this. And I've heard this now from a couple of different people who have heard the spot. And I'm so grateful to these people who have shared their stories and made an impact on people. It means so much. Here is Pastor Gil.
Hi, my name is Gil Goodwin, and I'm a grateful believer and follower of Jesus Christ who has been freed from the bondage of addiction and serve as the chaplain for CommQuest. My sobriety journey started at the age of 12. I grew up in a very loving family where my mom stayed home and raised 4 children, and my dad was a teacher and a coach at Alliance High School. My life changed dramatically at the age of 12 when my dad came down with a rare form of lung cancer at the age of 41 and would courageously battle that cancer for 7 years until he died at the age of 48, 1 month before I went away to college. While my dad fought cancer, my mom began to fight alcoholism. I, at the age of 12, became very independent, selfish, and self-centered, and for the next 10 plus years, I would battle various addictions. First, my addiction to pornography and lust, then alcohol, and then early on in my sales career, money, materialism, and the stock market. Fortunately for me, God had another plan for my life, like it says in Jeremiah 29:11. God put an unlikely hero in my life, a custodian at the Parma Park Church of God, who I came to know affectionately as Brother Bob. Bob first showed God's love and kindness to me, then he shared God's love for me from his word, the Bible, and then laid out God's plan of salvation for me. At the age of 27, I came to realize that the God who created me was the same God who loved me so much, he died a horrible death on a cross for me. My life was immediately changed forever. I surrendered and committed my life to the one who surrendered and committed first his life for me, Jesus Christ. I not only now have 35 plus years of sobriety, but I have eternal hope and a peace, a joy, and a purpose this world could never give me or satisfy in me. My mission at CommQuest and wherever the Lord directs me is to show and share that same love of God that was shared with me over 35 years ago so others can have sobriety, hope, peace, and joy and purpose in their lives as well.
Thank you so much, Gil, for sharing your story. Next up, we have Amy. And Amy was just a little apprehensive about doing this when she first came in, but I heard something in her voice that I wanted to try to capture, and she was very professional, very patient with me because I experimented with some mic placement and some other things, and she did a fantastic job. And here's something that I just kind of want to throw out there. I've worked with a number of people over the years. Some of them have been professional voice people. Some of them have been novices. And I can generally get a pretty good voiceover out of most people. But what I can't do is make you a good person. I can't tell you in the booth, okay, read this and sound like a good person. Okay. And Amy has this sincerity, this sensitivity in her voice that just came out wonderfully. Here is Amy.
Imagine being unable to afford food or put a roof over your head, or maybe you are struggling to do both. On top of this, you don't have family or friends who can help you. Now imagine this is all happening and a pandemic hits. According to a recent Gallup study, about 1 in 7 adults are struggling to afford either food or shelter or both. At CommQuest Services, we know there are a variety of barriers that can make meeting your basic needs a challenge, which is why we offer several programs to help provide resources and hope to those in need. Our Family Living Center is an emergency shelter for women and families who are homeless. Located in Maslin, each room has a private bathroom, and clients receive immediate assistance with food and shelter, as well as referrals for clothing, income assistance, and housing. Once settled, a case manager helps to identify strengths and needs and develop a plan to find stable housing as soon as possible. All referrals for the Family Living Center come from the Stark County Homeless Hotline, and last year we served 261 individuals in the community. If you are in need of these services, please call the Homeless Hotline at 330-452-4363. Samaritan's Table is a weekly hot meal program provided to those in need at St. John's Basilica in Canton. Our Samaritan's Table volunteers have been providing hope to our community for 34 years. Due to the pandemic, we now serve our patrons takeout style with additional safety precautions in place. Currently, we serve over 200 people every Thursday. This program means so much to so many in our community, and for some, it may be the only hot meal they are able to enjoy every week. We also offer a homelessness prevention program to assist with rent, utilities, and case management for residents living in the city of Canton. Our case managers assess income needs and identify objectives to meet employment goals and coordinate services. Case managers can mediate relationships and conversations between tenants and landlords, as well as offer assistance with mental health and well-being awareness to help maintain housing. Finally, our homeless outreach program goes out twice a month to visit with our area homeless to see what their needs are and offer resources and information. We give them a list of our services, a phone number to contact if they need additional help later, and a small lunch and care package. This program's purpose is not to have people become clients. We want them to know someone is showing an interest in them and their specific needs, calling them by name and looking out for them. For more information about our basic needs services, please visit CommQuest.org/social services.
That was Amy right there talking about social services here at CommQuest. fantastic job. Thank you so much. Next up came yours truly, and when it came up for something that I should do, I suggested maybe I'll do a history of CommQuest. And I kind of wrote, and of course I recorded and voiced this, and I'm only saying this because it's hard to be objective when you're juggling that many components. And I do have to tell you, you cannot be in this business and have a thin skin, because program directors and other people will just tell you flat out, I don't like what you did. I don't like the way you sound, whatever. But this was a little different because I work all the time with everyone at CommQuest. And, I want people to like me. So anyway, Trista told me that this kind of sounded like a trailer to a movie, a coming attraction type thing. Pastor Gil said some wonderful things to me. And again, I always appreciate the support from the people around me at CommQuest. Anyway, this was my version of the history of CommQuest. The year was 1919. World War I had ended, and a flu pandemic was affecting about a third of the then world population. Stark County was not exempt. In fact, the number of orphaned children was rapidly rising. The phrase, which we do not use anymore, put up for adoption, originated from a time when children were put up on railway cars to be taken away for adoption. A new humanity and a much different solution was needed to help remedy this crisis. An organization was formed that would become modern-day CommQuest to provide adoption services. That office still exists within the walls of CommQuest. Through the 1920s, counseling and assistance programs were created. In 1940, again a crisis involving children arose. What would become referred to as the Hoover children were children of employees of the Hoover Company working in England who were displaced and had to flee Europe from World War II. The then Catholic Community League supervised their care. In 1999, the organization was renamed Community Services, and in 2015, Community Services of Stark County and Quest Recovery and Prevention Services were merged, and CommQuest Services was formed. We have now come full circle, and now, 100 years later, CommQuest Services is providing services during a pandemic. COVID-19 has hit nonprofits like ours very hard. We are grateful for our loyal staff, frankly, many of whom could make a better living working in the private sector. Our staff is here because they want to be. Like the organization of 100 years ago, CommQuest shares a humanity with the community. We provide hope to all people through prevention, advocacy, support, education, treatment, and recovery. CommQuest Services Incorporated. Hope happens here. Okay, that was the content that we created for our Radiothon 2020 hosted by Q92. We would like to thank the people at Q92. Our account rep was very helpful. We would like to thank all of the participants, the members of our staff who recorded these spots for our Radiothon. Thank you so much. Can't say it enough. Thank you to all of the members of our staff who do so much good to help the community. Thank you so much. And thank you to the community itself who supports us. If you would like to find out more about CommQuest, or if you would like to make a donation, please visit CommQuest.org. And once again, that's CommQuest.org. For the Hope Discovered podcast, my name is Bill. Thank you very much for listening. And until the next time, remember, hope happens here.